I think we were a little bit nervous for the semifinals because the teams that got into the semis are so strong. But again, I always tell my kids that it is okay for you to be a little bit scared as long as you can work through that fear. Just trust yourself. And then I immediately tell them to research a little bit about emotion because it's really interesting. And then I tell them to use your imagination because emotion is really imaginative as well. And then I guide them a little bit with a series of questions in order to build strong arguments. And I think by today, we pretty much had a solid case.
So our first feeling coming to the semifinals is that we definitely feel very relieved that we are safe as judges, so we are definitely very grateful for that. But secondly, we feel like we feel very motivated to prove ourselves one more time to the judges when we have been given this second chance.
The first thing we did was reviewing what we did wrong in the last match, which was we had too much materials, we had too many papers, we had so much things to fit into a 4-minute speech, and we tried to fix that by making a more cohesive and a more compressed case so that it would be easier for the judges to follow.
The last time we also have done a lot of research as well as read newspapers and case studies, but also we have also taken the judge criticism into consideration, and therefore we will certainly improve on our styles and our speaking skills. So yeah, we'll try our best.
Ams Kira!
Ignite your passion. Ignite your passion.
Welcome back to The Debaters Season 3, a debate game show for high school students all across Vietnam. In production by VTV7 and British University Vietnam. My name's Long Vo, and I'll be your host today. This is the semifinals. We will have 2 rounds of semifinals, and the winners will move on to the finals. We've seen our students speak with perseverance and have been willing to speak up. With that being said, let's take a look at our motion for today. That we would allow the use of metahuman cure to remove the powers of metahumans who committed crimes. The motion discusses social issues revolving around the group of people holding a lot of power yet haven't been adequately disciplined with deterrence. Would the mechanism violate human rights, or would it help society? Let's hear from our students today and see what they think. On the proposition side, Ams Kira. And on the opposition side, may I please have Kefi Squad. So nice to have you guys back. How do you guys feel knowing that the judges saved you guys?
We feel very grateful that we are given one more chance to really showcase our skills, and we are very motivated to really crush this debate. We hope so.
Great, well, it's nice to see you guys back, and best of luck, okay? So you guys have made it into the semifinals. What are you guys gonna bring to the game today?
So first and foremost, we think that this is a very interesting motion. Perhaps it is the motion that we like the best up until now. So we really want to showcase the entirety of what we have. We have prepared very hardworking. We have been very hardworking in preparing this motion.
Well, wish you guys the best of luck, okay? Thank you. Do well out there. And of course, we wouldn't be complete without our great judges. Stuart, do you like to watch any DC films?
Some of them. I like superhero films, but I'm more into kind of science fiction-y films, which I think this motion also goes into. It's important to be thinking about these problems that we might face in the future, but I think there's a lot of elements that we can think about today's society as well. So it'll be interesting to see what both teams bring to today's motion.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Ms. Wing, what in particular are you going to be looking at for this round?
I cannot say specifically what I'll be looking for because it would affect the debates. I would say that I think this motion should be more than just discussing about one movie. It should be more about, as my fellow judge also said, societies and especially the problems in it.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Hugh, can you find any personal relation with this motion?
Well, I'm not a metahuman. I don't have superpower, and I never committed any serious crimes, so no personal relation whatsoever. But I'm a fan of DC and all of those sci-fi movies as well. So And I think this is a very challenging motion. I think I could have a lot of difficulties if I could debate this motion, so I can't wait to see how the debate goes on today.
You said difficulties, so if you compare this motion to other motions, would you say this is more difficult?
For me personally, this is more difficult than any other motion I have seen in this season.
Okay. Thank you so much, judges. And with that being said, let's invite our first two speakers up for round one. From the proposition side, may I please have Đinh Pha Lê. And from the opposition team, may I please have Vũ Ngô Ái Khan. So Pha Lê, or can I call you Miss Crystal?
Yes.
Yeah. What are you going to do being the first speaker?
I think I will try my best to set up the debate so that my partners could, push our team's arguments.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and best of luck.
Thank you.
And now you've made it to the semifinals, and you've heard lots of critiques from the judges. Which critique in particular are you going to try to use today?
I think I would try to improve my rebuttals a little bit more in order to actually tackle their case effectively.
Okay. Well, I hope to see that on stage, and good luck to you, okay? Thank you. Before we get started with round one, I'm going to review the rules really quickly. Each contestant will have 3 minutes to complete their speech. There will be no POIs allowed, and the proposition team will go first. Any questions?
No.
Perfect. With that being said, let the debates begin.
Two clarifications at the top of this debate. Firstly, conventional punishments are symmetrical on both sides. So what is exclusive on the government side is that we will combine both those like captivation or like financial punishments to the meta-cure. And secondly, on the context, in this part, I will analyze to the judges why the conventional punishments only could not promote rehabilitations in these meta-humans. So like an additional measure such as the meta-cure is needed. Two reasons. Firstly, we are considering the serious crimes, which include rape, murder, bank robbing, and etc., which are not gray areas, but they are obviously wrong. So when the meta-humans chose to cross the moral line themselves, this means two things. Firstly, they already have the mentality of a criminal. They will be willing to commit that crime again. And secondly, they already believe that they are inherently superior and above the law. And secondly, even if the rehabilitation does work on the opposition side, then this, according to The Guardian, it will take about like 15 to 20 years for a criminal to actually rehabilitate. So it's a very long time. During that time, what could happen? Firstly, there will be a very heavy financial burden laid on the criminal justice system because they have to invest in technology and guards so that they could captivate these very strong human beings. And during that time, these meta-humans could easily use their superpower to escape from the prison. So what we are trying to prove here is that the meta-cure is definitely imperative. So moving on to our arguments, we'll prove to you firstly why this is justifiable and proportionate, and secondly why this ensures deterrence and security. Now onto the first argument of why this is justifiable and proportionate. We have to look at the nature of these crimes that we are talking about today. Three things. Firstly, this is not their last resort, judges, because when you are granted a superpower, you already have a privilege, which means that you could be a very high-paid like delivery man because you can run as 10 times as fast as other people. So you already have like more job opportunities and more kind of like privilege in life. And secondly, the meta-cure here is always available. So if you see that you cannot control this power, you could already abandon it. But the criminals that we're talking about here, they choose to keep it and they choose to commit the crime. So the opposition side cannot claim that this is like unintentional or something. And secondly, the impacts of these crimes are exponentially enhanced because like this is very easy to imagine. If an ordinary person could only rob one bank, then a person who can split themselves into 10 can rob like 10 banks at a time. So the consequences are very harmful. And thirdly, we have to look at the enormous imbalance here in the situation. Well, in reality, it is less legally serious if a man beats a man than when he beats a child, right? So this is the same situation here. And because the meta-human have like a huge privilege, they deserve a heavier punishment than other people. So the proposition side is assuring this principle by taking away the tool that directly enhances the scope of the crime and the position to and the superior position that leads these criminals to commit the serious crime. Therefore, very proud to propose.
before moving on to any constructive case or any rebuttal, some clarification, right? I think that this debate is, I think what they're actually protecting is not like a combination of punishment. I think it is rather than like the human, like meta-human cure, just simply means that you taking their power, meta power away. It just looks like if you rob something and you have your arm cut. I think what's happening under their side of hell is not justice, it is just an eye for an eye. And before moving on to my constructive case, in which like rebuttals will be integrated, some framing, right? I think this debate should like mainly primarily focus on criminal, like meta-human, whose mentality is already unstable and have men's rear. Some characterizations before moving on to my argument. Meta powers is innate, right? I think one, meta powers like reflects their characteristic. Like for example, you have the ability to control time and you're always punctual. So this means the abilities are an extension or crucial part of the identity, right? And secondly, they're familiarized with their supernatural powers since their birth and have lived with that their entire life. And thirdly, like meta-human have no say in having this like supernatural power, right? They did not give consent in order to have this ability, yet they are born discriminated and stigmatized again for this power because they're different from the rest of the society, right? But fourthly, meta-humans are expected to bear a high moral burden for something they never gave consent to having. Like the intuition problem here is that like you are expected to be a moral citizen and contribute to the society despite you did not consent to your birth, right? The last thing is that their power can be valuable to the state. So what is our counter-moral? I think that if like meta-human were to commit serious crime, would like hold them off a tailored jail that is specifically made for them and use specialized handcuffs in order to inactivate the abilities contemporary while they like serving sentences. And secondly, we focus rehabilitation, like we are able to do this because A, we provide them with good like living conditions and training, etc. And B, we can improve their mental health, help them reintegrate into the society after serving the sentence. Coming to our first argument, why it is morally reprehensible to remove their power, which directly clash with their principle. A, the act of taking their power away, taking their ability away in and of itself is double standard because one, to put into like record for their action to be justified, the other side would say that meta-human have the privilege of having supernatural power, so they have to bear more burden, which made the fact that they committed serious crime and getting ability taken away justified. Like, note for the fact that government have the responsibility and like incentive to protect their citizens in the first place, and in the years of the house, they're actively excluding and unfairly sentencing a minority groups that is their citizens as well, right? But B, it is peculiarly disproportional because this might be justifiable to kill somebody proportionally to their crime and humanly if they commit serious crime, but it is not justifiable for the state to make them paralyzed or modify a part of their body, right? So this is why we're so proud to oppose.
Thank you so much, ladies. Judges, how are we doing? Why don't we start off with Mr. Hugh? Can you please share with us?
I imagine myself, what could I do if I had to debate with one of you in this first round, because you guys are really outstandingly performing in the first round. For the proposition team, I think you guys do the job pretty well-rounded. It's like a nice setup case with a lot of preempt and a lot of characterizations of not just the meta-human, but also the measure that you take, as well as preempt the countermeasure of the other team as well. And when you go to the justifiable reasoning, I think the nature of crimes, the impact of the crimes, and the enormous balance are nicely set. The only thing, and I'm really nitpicking here, is the final argument about the enormous imbalance when you say that because they have more privileges, so they should face a heavier punishment. I think it was picked up nicely by the opposition team, even though they haven't really strongly attacked that, but there's still a lot of loophole in that argument as well. So I think you guys need to strengthen that up. With the opposition team, I was surprised because I thought like I knew the debaters on the proposition team is a very seasoned debater, but I feel like you come back with strong arguments as well. I think you pick up nicely the weakness in the other teams, even though you haven't really pushed your rebuttals or attack on their argument, but you pick up the weak spot in there. And I'm surprised by your countermeasure as well as the argument about the double standards. And I think it's really, for me, in terms of ideas-wise, I love the ideas more on the opposition team. in terms of like tightly structured and well developed, I think the proposition team does a better job in developing the ideas in a tight, really nicely laid out structure. So in this particular round, I think you guys do have so much potentials in the second and the third round, but I think on the first round, my 10 points go to the proposition team.
Nice. Thank you. That's 10 points to the proposition team. Ms. Wing, can I please hear from you?
I really enjoyed the first turn, and I generally agree with what my fellow judge said. I think the proposition side definitely had a very strong setup, and because of that, I see there was a lot of problems, but you still make a lot of efforts to overcome the problem as the opposition side. However, your speech was a little bit lack of flexibility. So there are points that have already been, mentioned, preempt by the proposition side. For example, about how expensive, how could be wasteful it is for the measures, for the alternative of building, specialized jail. They've already mentioned about that. So I think you should upgrade your rebuttal a little bit because you are one step behind the proposition side. And this is, I think, it's a little bit confusing in here because Prop already said that because there is a cure, right? So you can choose not to have your superpower, and you say that no, they couldn't choose that. So I think there's a little bit, lacking of I don't know, maybe there's a strategy there or something, but you haven't explained clearly for me enough why you didn't, directly engage with that idea. For this round, I still agree with Mr. Hugh, and my point would go to the proposition side because they have a much stronger case setup by far.
Thank you. And Mr. Stewart, can I please hear from you?
An excellent first round to the first semi-final. I think both teams came out really strongly with really clean arguments. What I liked about Ams Kira is I liked this notion of looking into reality, where you're mentioning, comparing it to an adult inflicting harm on a child and the consequence of that being high. I like the fact that you locked that into reality, and we can see an example of that happening in society today. I think your logic works quite nicely in your arguments as well, and also your whole setup was really, really clean. And what I think is going to be interesting is how you show the impact, especially with things like talking about the government. Further and later on, that's going to be where I think you guys pick up more points down the line. For Kefi Squad, you guys did your rebuttals incredibly well. Also, the framing and mechanism is really, really good to bring to this debate. And I think actually it's the burden on them to now try and dismantle that. Again, you had a really, really clean setup. And I think following rounds are going to be quite exceptional in terms of how you address these ideas. Further on this, you're going to be looking at where the clashes are. So you're talking about different things in terms of mental stability. But what I would say is in terms of how strong the arguments are currently, I'm going to go again with my fellow judges for the proposition side. However, I genuinely think this is completely open, and it's going to be a lot about how you interact with the other arguments throughout the rest of this debate.
Thank you so much. With that being said, our proposition team has 30 points, and our opposition team still doesn't have any points, but let's not give up hope. It's still pretty early. Thank you so much, ladies. You can please have a seat. And stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back with the second round of debates.
Well, in reality, it is less legally serious if a man beats a man than when he beats a child, right? So this is the same situation here.
Note for the fact that government have the responsibility and incentive to protect their citizens in the first place, and in the years of a house, they're actively excluding and unfairly sentencing a minority groups that is their citizens as well, right?
It's like a nice setup case with a lot of preempt and a lot of characterizations of not just the meta-human, but also the measure.
Ignite your passion. Ignite your passion.
Welcome back to The Debaters Season 3. We're now into our second round of debates. With that being said, I'd like to invite our next two speakers up. From the proposition side, may I please have Khúc Minh Thủy. And from the opposition side, may I please have Nguyễn Thiên Lam. Welcome up, ladies. So your teammates set the bar pretty high. What are you going to do in this round to keep it going?
I think that the judges have give us many feedback on how to improve on our points. So I would definitely take it into consideration and improve on that as well.
Okay, best of luck to you, okay? And we're a little bit behind after the last round, so what are we going to do in this round to catch up?
One thing for sure is that I believe in our case. And in the end, at the end of the day, the better case will be the winner. And we're definitely here to win.
Okay, well, best of luck, okay? Before we get started, I want to review the rules of this round really quickly. For the second round, each speaker will have 4 minutes to present their speech. POIs are allowed under 15 seconds, and we'll start with the proposition team. Any questions?
No.
Perfect. With that being said, let the debates begin.
Firstly, some rebuttals on the point about how meta is the matter of consent. We have already said that how this is always the choice of that individual, whether they want to keep it or not. So we do not see why this is like a matter of like they are vulnerable or not. We think that this is a privilege. They have more power than other normal people, that they can run faster, that they can be punctual all the time. We think that this is an opportunity, this is a privilege. And secondly, on the point about how this is familiar to them, this is a part of identity. We say that we human all live in a society, and we think that individual freedom should never trespass or harm the freedom of other people. If these superpowers are to be abused and weaponized by individual to harm others, to intentionally scare other people, we say that it is that these people decide not to respect the law and other people. We say that it's totally justified to put out this free use. The people that they do not have the chance to use this power. And on the point about how this is double standard and this is like a double standard, we say that this is not true. We say that when government have totally respect them by letting them choose whether or not they have this kind of power or not. And we never ask them that they have to save the world or do great things for society. We only say that they are responsible for their action. They do not commit this kind of serious crime like these like murder or rape and stuff like that. And third point about like their alternative about jail and rehabilitation, we'll talk further on later on. Now coming to the point about power imbalances, we say that there will certainly be power imbalances because there is the situation of one person having this kind of privileges over other individual who not have the same thing. We said the victims here is much more vulnerable than those people in a superior position, that they have much more power in this situation, not only like physically but also emotionally. When they are faced toward this other, there would certainly be this kind of power imbalances. That's why we need like additional impact on these individuals. This power balance leads to that things. Now on their point about how the state fail, we say that this is a really extreme situation. We say that most states nowadays still try to be as much responsible as they can to their own citizens. And secondly, we think that the state have totally respect them by giving them the chance to choose what they want to do. And even if they say that the state has failed them, we think that this is our side is actually the side that can rectify the situation. We said that either side on the house, right? Let's notify this, that either side will have to do something to suppress these high-profile criminals, that their side of the house can never let these criminals run free. We think that on their side of the house, what will happen is that we have the situation of solitary confinement. We think that this kind of suppression is much more extreme than our side of the house. This is worse torture that these people are hurt every single day. On our side of the house, we never need this kind of extreme measure. We can get rid of all those things. We can focus on rehabilitation. They have the free body, that they do not feel they are captured and they are changed and they are not human. We think that less think that they are being treated as an enemy, but an environment for change to happening. Next, on our point about like even if the side of the house can actually rehabilitate these people, we say that this situation happening is that people, normal people in the society, they think that these people have already have the privilege and they have abused that privilege, weaponized that privilege, their own power. We say that what will happening is that there will be social unrest in which people feel like it is so unfair, and that when we see this happening is that people will not feel it's right for these people to be able to go back. And secondly, these people will have this kind of superior mentality. When they are staying in prison, they are suppressed so much by what I have to say, like chains and ropes and stuff like that. So it's natural for these humans to go out and things that they want to revenge for those kind of things. So we say that it's much more likely that they will go back to their old way instead of actually change like what happened, what they say on their side of the house. So we say that jail and rehabilitation is not going to work. Now, on our side of the house, about the point on social, we say that this will act as a deterrence, that these people, potential criminal, will have to consider this consider this and will not do this because they want to keep their power. This is important to enhance social security. Thank you for listening, and that's why we believe that outside of the house have both individual impact and social impact.
it is ironic how the criminal justice system was supposed to treat you fairly, treat you unfairly. Here's why the entire case of the other proposition side is wrong. When they talk about financial burden, I don't know why this is relevant to the debate. Because when we talk about financial burden, if the criminal justice system in the first place think that it's a financial burden to have jails, then why do they still have it? The principle here is that we need to treat these people fairly. We need to have these punishment fairly. So the financial burden here is irrelevant, even on their side of the house. When we talk about privilege, the idea concept of privilege is that even if you have the privilege, we will still judge you based on the same metric that we judge the unprivileged people. Why do we say this? When the other side of the house came here and tell me that, oh, well, because they have the privilege, they're bound to be held to a higher standard. They have to take more of a moral obligation to be good. Then what we say is that, oh, they on their side of the house, they still exist white privileged people, right? So if white privileged people can bail themselves out of jail because they have the money, they have the connections, then why don't we judge that? Then why don't we judge them differently from when we judge a black unprivileged person? Because that is not what the criminal justice is designed for. And it's designed that the punishment that you get is proportional to the crime that you committed. And we think it is not proportional to take away someone's identity, someone's integrity, someone's dignity in this case of the battle. This argument that I bring to the table is that the actions of taking away someone's identity, in this case, villainize the meta-humans and causes damage to society. Notice the fact that this is very crucial to them. This is not something like, oh, I take your bag away from you. That is not something like that. This is what they have lived, what they are born from. And yes, you can say that, oh, they can remove it. Okay, we accept that. But the difference here is that they have the freedom to remove them, not that the government is actively taking it away from them, right? Because if the government taking away from them, that is not the freedom of choice that you're talking about. No, thank you. When we talk about the metahumans who committed crime, we say that they are born antisocial. They are mentally unstable. So when their power is taken away, do you think that they really will look at what they have done and see that they are mistakes? Because you are not giving them a punishment that is proportional to their crime. They would just get defensive and say, why did I deserve this? I only I robbed a bank and then they take my ability from me. When they don't do that to other humans, I am also their citizens too. Why aren't they protecting me? Why aren't they treating me fairly like other human beings? This is what they're going to think. And why do you do this harmful to the other stakeholders in this debate? When we talk about the innocent stakeholders, right? They will perceive the policy as a threat and a violation of their right to bodily autonomy. So they will live in a constant fear that they always have to prove themselves, that they are not aggressive, that they are not violent. So the metahumans who did not commit any crime would have to do what the black people are doing now. They have to say that, oh, I am not violent, I am not aggressive, I will not kill you. But this is not the fact. This is on the principle of you are innocent until you're proven guilty. But they are not proven guilty, right? So based on this fact alone, when you have this kind of it, you have a structural discrimination. And you will always think of that, oh, they are potentially gonna cause harm, so I'm gonna insist this kind of punishment on them. So because of this, you have created discrimination between the humans and the metahumans, which is not good on your side of the house too. So this creates an endless cycle of discrimination, which means that whenever metahumans causes backlash, instead of questioning why, what had made them done that way, you question their attitudes. You simply present a biased view of humans. And also, on our side of the house, we can exclusively guarantee contribution. Note that their powers are very valuable to the society, right? So when you take away their message and you punish them on a different metric from other humans, you send a message to the humans that whatever you do to metahumans, the state will always enforce a stricter rule and a stricter metric and punish them and not you. This is the message that you will send to the humans, and this is not correct because until that they will conceal their powers and not contribute to the society that is treating them so unfairly. So because of that, we think that justice unaccounted is justice corroded. Proud to oppose.
Wow, such a heated debate, guys. Judges, how are we doing? Stuart, can I start off with you today?
that was an incredibly fiery round from both sides, and I just want to congratulate you for bringing so much energy to the second round of this debate. In terms of the points I wanted to say to the proposition side, I think your attack of their mechanism was really strong. I really like that you threw that in there. And I also like the fact that in this round, you're really leaning towards the impact in terms of social unrest. One point that you need to expand on a little bit is the notion of, on your side, being an act of deterrence. I need a bit more information about why that is deterring certain actions. On the other side, for the opposition side, you brought a lot of passion into your speech, and within that passion, there were a lot of really, really strong arguments. I now understand better. You've taken up some of those ideas from the first round about your notion of equality and discrimination. Those ideas were kind of mentioned in the first round by your teammate. Now you've padded that out a lot more, so I understand more clearly what you're talking about in terms of ensuring that it's to fight the crime, it needs to be proportional to the crime committed, not the person who's committing the crime, and what that can lead to. So weighing up both sides, I actually really enjoyed this round, but my points go to the opposition side for this round, just because I think you really are pushing a very strong idea there, and I'm excited to see how that expands over the next round.
Okay, thank you so much. And Mr. Hugh, can I hear from you, please?
So with the proposition team, I feel like you delay your second argument towards the end, which is you want to scale up on the deterrence of, other potential criminals. I think you run out of time on that one. Also, I feel like your rebuttals, you're trying to throw in a lot of rebuttals. I think like 4 or 5 I could count, but only 1 or 2 actually matter. You still haven't resolved for me about the double standards. Always also the choice of individuals versus the choice of the government. You know what I mean? So that's really lacking for me in the proposition team. I think the opposition comes in this route pretty strong. The idea of taking a punishment by taking away someone's identity is crucial. Is their main, the core of their argument. I think it's a very strong argument that is very hard to knock over. With the arguments, the 3 concepts of I have the freedom to remove it, but the government doesn't have the rights to remove my meta power. The second one is about the structural discrimination, and the third one is about the fact that the meta-human will conceal their power and will not contribute. I think it's done very nicely. My tiny feedback for improvement is it seems like you still focus on the people that are mentally unstable. My question is, with those meta-human who are not mentally unstable, would your mechanism and countermeasures still hold for them, right? So I think that's something for the third debater, but obviously my 10 point in this route go to the opposition team as well.
So you guys are catching up. You've got 20, and on the opposition side we have 30. So Ms. Wing, who will your 10 points be going to today?
Totally agree that this could be one of the best second turns in the debaters that have judged by far. So congratulations on your good work. So in this one, I'm going to base on 3 main issues. The first one is about how meta-human is going to be treated. I see on prop side, you talk a lot about consent and identity. On op side, I see your effort in rebutting those ideas. Unfortunately, the rebuttal were not strong enough to give a full-scale attack to the proposition side. For the second idea about the victim, so the prop side show me about how it's actually really unfair for the victim to be in that situation. I don't really see the impact of that though, but for that idea, I didn't see a lot of engagement from your side. The third thing is about the justice system, and this is actually really interesting because prop side show me how, the rehabilitation gonna be and deterrence going to be enhanced. And unfortunately, those ideas were actually not fully directly engaged by the opposition side. Instead, you mentioned about villainize the people, which is something I think that's a very wonderful idea, and your analogy very sound. But in terms of engagement, I see the opposition side kind of drop a few points in there. So all in all, I would go for the team that provides me with a more, a better preparation and more responsive speaker, because this is a second turn. So I will vote for the proposition side.
After the judges' critiques, proposition side has 40 points and the opposition side has 20 points, and it's still pretty close. Thank you so much, ladies. You can have a seat. And stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back with round 3 of our debates.
We say that we human all live in a society, and we think that individual freedom should never trespass or harm the freedom of other people.
The difference here is that they have the freedom to remove them, because if the government taking away from them, that is not the freedom of choice that you're talking about.
On upside, I see your effort in rebutting those ideas. Unfortunately, the rebuttal were not strong enough to give a full-scale attack to the proposition side.
Ignite your passion. Ignite your passion.
Welcome back to The Debaters Season 3. This is round 3 of our debates. I won't keep you guys waiting any longer. Let's get our speakers up. From the proposition side, may I please have Miss Wing the Wing. From the opposition side, may I please have Va Thảo Lân. Now we're down to our third round already. What are we gonna do to win all 30 points and just go home early?
I'm not that egotistic to say that I will win all 30 points, but I hope I will try my best and earn as much as possible, I think.
Well, it's always nice to have a little bit of humbleism. It's pretty nice of you there, so best of luck.
Thank you. Is that sarcasm?
No, I'm being serious. Maybe being humble, maybe you'll win because you're humble, right?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Well, best of luck.
Thank you.
Hello, my friends. Hi. We gotta catch up just a little bit to get ahead of your opponents. So what are we gonna do to catch up?
I will have a lot of pressure on me, but I just will try my best to respond to all the ideas of the proposition side. Yeah.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, okay? Thank you. Before we get started on our third round, I'm gonna review the rules really quickly. Each speaker will have 4 minutes to present their speech. POIs are allowed under 15 seconds, and the proposition side will go first. Any questions?
No.
With that being said, let the debates begin.
Two questions that we must answer in this debate. Number 1, why is it fair on our side of the house? And number 2, why on our side it is more important? Firstly, we would state that this is not the discrimination between races, it's actually between those privileged and those who are not. Let us remind you that the privilege that these people have not only affect them, but also affect other people. You have to know that if these people, they commit a serious crime, they can actually damage other people's lives. For example, if a normal person can only kill 1 person at a time, that person can split themselves and kill 10 people at a time. So the damage is considerably more on their side of the house. And since what we have stated is that this meta-human cure is literally for everyone, and these people, if they have to suffer so much with the moral burden of the society, they can choose to abolish it, but they don't. So they accept the fate that they have these meta-human superpowers, and they utilize and weaponize it to actually harm other people. So as we say, the principle of our criminal justice system is that the more serious the crime, the more punishment you get. And we believe that it is totally proportionate, that these people have a much more damage, can be much more damaging to the society. They can have a much more serious punishment in which they have to be stripped away of their power. And when we say about the principle, we have 2 more points that we want to say. So what our speaker has said is that what they do is they actually do it on their own volition. Not on their side, they say that they're born with it, but actually we have stated they actually do it on their own volition. But the thing is that even if it's their identity, why we can still take it away? First, let's take like an analogy. If I have a gun, I can totally utilize it because it's my property, but I don't have the right to use it to hurt anyone. I cannot shoot Fale, I cannot shoot any one of you here. So the thing is that because it is my possession, because I have full possession of something, it doesn't mean I can totally take out the freedom of someone and it's unjustified. And the problem is that all the punishments in the criminal justice system still take away your identity. Maybe you're sacked, you're not like the manager of the company anymore. Maybe you'll stay in prison for 20 years and all you go out, your identity is prisoner. So when on both sides, it's symmetric that your identity will be taken away, and especially in serious crimes, we believe that it's totally proportionate on our side. But let's talk about when they say that states fail. Firstly, states are not to blame because these people, they can literally do anything they want. They are not at the position where they have to choose to do crimes or not. And secondly, many others in their kind of discriminated, maybe let's take that they are discriminated. For example, black people, for example, they still do not do crimes. So what they do is on their own volition and they are intentional. Even if like states are like super bad, why is this wrong? because you are wronging the victims, because the victims now can see that those people who use that kind of superpower that harm these victims will actually go out and harm other people. So this gives them a lot of PTSD. And this doesn't really do any harm to them if you just stuff them in a prison. And these people can also be utilized and be abused even more because of their superpower. But let's talk about the point of deterrence that they totally dropped from our side of the house when we talk about why our side is more important. Firstly, we said that these people can totally break up the prisons. And secondly, their powers are privileged. And thirdly, when these people are potential reckless criminals, when they see that losing their power is the only thing that can stop them, they will feel deterred to not do these things anymore. And when these metahumans, when they have this power to actually enhance their lives, they'll feel more careful to not toe the line, to really protect the powers if they want to protect the comfort. And therefore, society will feel more safe. And also the accomplices, they are deterred from breaking out of prison because they're scared of conviction, and the superpowers the prisoners possess, they are not anymore. So even if we take it on their side of the house that they can fully rehabilitate these people, which our second speaker has proven that they want, it means that on their side, the potential criminals are not deterred, which means the social security of vulnerable people who do not have the kind of protection that these people have, in which are superpowers, they'll be harmed more. And the comparison is much worse on their side. And what is more important is that what are the benefits? They have to nuance it too. And also, the benefits that these super people can actually do to the society is only property. So what happens if they do crimes is that they can kill like 2 million people. So what is the difference between you build 2 cities and you kill 20 million people? We believe that you cannot trade human life for the property, for the benefits that you have, and it is unjustified for their side of the house to not take away these people's powers. Thank you.
Panels, please note how the case of proposition team, they all based on one premise things is that the privilege of these people. Okay, so they haven't responded to us why the fact that these superpowers are the innate power are like a part of their identity which is so important. They haven't responded to it. But even if we accept that they want to have some kind of discrimination or would have some kind of oppression towards the people, we believe that that won't work either. Okay, so why does deterrence on the proposition side won't work? Firstly, they based on the assumption that individuals in the society, metahuman or human, they are all rational. Whether they before deciding to commit a crime. This is false because why? We have framed this debate about debating about the metahumans that are emotionally unstable, and our team has a lot of incentives proven to you why they have a lot of incentives to oppress or like to go against the case of government. Please.
What is the reason why you characterize those who commit serious crimes as unstable mentally?
Okay, so firstly, it's about where we have said that it's just a burst of anger, it's a burst of emotions. So even if we accept the case of that, it is still not like important or crucial to take away a part of their identity. So the most important thing here is that the core issues is that the stigma these metahumans face against the community. Because why? Their proposition side, they try to push the metahumans to doing these kinds of crime, and it's not important how the other team trying to do the rehab of the metahuman, because like even we accept the best case that is that these kind of metahumans are like naturally evil. We believe that actually the minorities, because like it's the freedom of choice of being taken away, those kind of like the identity is so important. It's just not like you want to like cut them away. It's simple. Okay, so why do we believe that in our case, in our side of the house, we can like protect a much more better idea? That is the idea of like justice. Their side of the house, they all goes for like an eye for eye, a leg for a leg. This is like we have to talk about like proportional like punishment towards the people. We can have like we still like treat them as normal human, but it's based on their serious character. We believe that even death is more proportional for this kind of people. Because why? Firstly, it's because of like normal criminal justice system. But secondly, the message they send during like enacting this kind of policy will send the message a wrong notion. That is like they will have the revenge mindset, which means that they always try to do the criminal the same thing as the victim. Okay, so when we're talking about compensation again, why firstly the question is that why treat them fairly doesn't work as a compensation to the victim. Why we believe that the idea of compensation is so subjective that like when we like are robbed away, we just want to like cut their arms, but it's not like that because like it's different between their minds and the reality. So at the end of the day, the proposition side cannot guarantee the compensation of the victim anyway. But only on our side of the house that we have some kind of connecting this meta-human and human, because why we try to let the meta-human knows that they are a part of the community, they are an individual, the normal individual in the society too, and this is the case, this is the tipping point because we have the likelihood of contribution more, because like meta-humans just don't want to like contribute just for someone they have so much prejudice about, and this is why we believe that the harmonious society between meta-human and humans is better. Thank you.
Judges, can I please hear from you first, Mr. Hugh?
Okay, so this time I'm gonna look at like all the stands of the two teams so far across 3 routes. So my evaluation is based on which team has given me more convincing arguments for each of the target stakeholder group. So for the group of who are the criminals, right? So I feel like with the 3rd round, when the opposition team comes in with a compensation argument, which is they actually have the chance to compensate for their crimes, at least in their case, compared to when they have their meta power taken away. So I think that gave me a plus on the opposition team in terms of the criminal themselves. On the second one is the other criminals. This is where I feel like none kind of convinced me about the deterrence, even though the proposition team gave me some elaboration on the deterrence. But it's like right now, I feel like no one has won me over on this second one. The third one is go to the criminal justice systems. I agree with the proposition team that if someone committed a heavier crime, there needs to be a higher punishment, right? But the other team come in and say the same, yes, but what if a normal human being also, let's say, do a serious crime of killing 100 people, and the meta-human also killing 100 people? In the case, both a serious crime, and somehow you enforce a higher crime on that meta-human, that could be like kind of like a not proportional justice system as you claim. So that is where I feel like for me right now, the stance of the opposition team is stronger in the criminal justice system as well. That's why my 10 point go to the opposition team.
Thank you so much. With that being said, proposition has 40 and opposition has 30, so we're catching up. Stuart, can I hear from you, please?
I'll start off with the proposition first. I see that you tried to attack the notion of identity. I'm not sure if I'm fully convinced with the reference of possession. I think that maybe didn't quite do you any favors in terms of what you were trying to achieve with the argument. And the notion of attacking the concept of deterrence, there wasn't really elaboration on why, on your side, it was the only thing, or only losing power can stop them. I didn't really see any of the kind of logic behind that. However, I think that you did kind of grasp the round quite well, and you kind of reiterated some of your main points for the opposition sides. There were a few areas that I thought needed a little bit of work. I think it's great that you answered the POI. However, I think it's a little bit dangerous to equate a burst of emotions to mental instability. And also, there were some points that were thrown in at the end that I think had a lot of potential, especially the notion of revenge mindset and also the meta-humans knowing where they stand as a part of community. I think that needed the impact and could be further pushed forward. However, comparing both sides, my 10 points are actually leaning to the opposition side, just because I think that actually this core notion of trying to avoid discriminating the person rather than the crime that they're doing is, for me, the strongest argument I've heard so far in this debate. So my 10 points remain with the opposition side.
Nice. So, with that being said, we are at a tie of 40 to 40. Ms. Wing, let's break the tie.
This is actually really hard because for me, both teams by far have had hit and miss. Basically, by far, we've already agreed with each other that if people, no matter they are normal or meta-human, if they commit crime, we have to punish them. The question is, how do we punish them and how much do we want to punish them? Proposition side and opposition side both brought 2 models for me. However, Prop explained their model a little bit better, and they like constantly connect to their model and show us how, by using this kind of force curing, they are creating a better society and a safer one. Upside, however, you also have a very wonderful model that the first speaker spoke about, but I didn't see that model connected a lot in your case. That is a miss on the opposition side. However, if we look at like how much the impact is gonna be, I'm leaning a little bit towards opposition side this time, because opposition side show me that first of all, yes, on both sides, you know that the meta-human going to be very scared to use their power and to be meta-human. Prop side say, if they are scared, they're not going to use it horribly. Upside say, if they're too scared, that is wrong. And I think upside actually has a really good idea in here. The second thing you say about society, prop side say, society will feel safer, but then I don't again see your impact of how a feeling safer society would help who and how. For upside, you say, well, they can, like if you leave them the same, they can come back and they can actually contribute to the society. So I can see, like a more long-term effect in here. So it basically boils down to either I would go for a more consistent case or I would go for more impact. And in this round, I would go for more impact because this is the last round. So my 10 points also go to the opposition side.
Thank you, judges. Thank you so much, ladies. You can please take a seat. And keep tight, we'll be right back with our reply speeches.
So the thing is that because it is my possession, because I have full possession of something, it doesn't mean I can totally take out the freedom of someone and it's unjustified.
We try to let the meta-human know that, oh, they are a part of the community, they are an individual, the normal individual in the society too.
I'm not sure if I'm fully convinced with the reference of possession. I think that maybe didn't quite do you any favors in terms of what you were trying to achieve with the argument.
Welcome back to The Debaters Season 3. We've now come down to our reply speeches. This round will be deciding who will be going on to our finals today. With that being said, let me please welcome to the stage, on the proposition side, may I please have Linh Pha Lê. And on the opposition side, may I please have Nguyễn Thiên Lam. Welcome back, my friend. So we need to get pretty much all the points to win.
Yes.
What are you going to do to steal the judges' hearts?
I guess all I can do is to do my best. And I think it is fair because the opposition side did quite a good job. So if we lose, I think it's also a lesson to learn.
Okay, well, let's not use the word lose. We're going to win, okay? Okay?
I'm not sure, but...
I'm not sure. We're going to win, okay?
Okay.
Okay, good. Good luck. And I'm going to ask you the same question. What are you going to do to win the judges' hearts?
No, I cannot predict where it will go. So I think I would just do what I was always do to try my best, and also because this is by far our most difficult opponents, and I respect them a lot. So it would reflect through my speech how much that I cherish this debate and how much preparation that I did.
Okay, thank you. Good luck to you, okay? Before we move on with our reply speech, I'd like to go over the rules very quickly. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to complete their speech. No POIs are allowed. We'll start with the opposition side. And this round is completely anonymous, meaning we will have no commentary from the judges. With that being said, let the debates begin.
Justice unaccounted is justice corroded. Note for the fact that on the side of the proposition, there is no justice. What they do is that they only go eye for eye, leg for leg. And they based on a metric that is unfair to a minority group. What we will do to win this debate is that we will compare on 3 grounds on why do we win this debate. First, on the model. When we talk about the punishment is proportional to the crimes that that you committed. Our side does it better. Why is this the case? Even if we accept the best case of the proposition, which is that, oh, they killed 1,000 people, for example, 1,000 people or sample. So even in this case, we accept there will be death penalty. But that doesn't mean that if they kill one people, it will automatically mean that we will get their ability away from them, because there are a lot of cases involved. And we will use the status quo, the criminal justice status quo, to deal with this problem, because it's more fairer, and it doesn't matter what kind of privilege do you get when you grow up. So again, this is an analogy of the white privileged people. You don't base them, you don't punish them differently just because they are white privileged people. Everyone deserves a chance to be treated fairly when they face the court. Second, on the principle, notice how the proposition side has a double standard, which means that they say that the state has a responsibility to protect all citizens, but they exclusively take out a minority group and say, no, this is not how we will treat you, different from the way that we treat other people. Other people, the other human beings, are more important to us than you. This is not what we want to do in this debate. And in our world, we say that, oh, rehabilitation. We still believe that there is a second chance for you if you did not commit like such a serious crime like killing 10,000 people or committing a genocide. So because of this, our side debate actually give them more of an incentive to contribute back to society, which is also the third round in this debate. Because we talk about like when you impose a stricter rule, they become defensive because they think they don't deserve it. Only on our side that there is fairness and there is a contribution, because we all agree that the powers that they have are valuable to the society. Proud to oppose.
Judges noted how unfair the opposition side have framed the whole debate into the mentally unstable group. What we are talking about here is if they do take that in as a metric, then we say we win because we deal with the majority of the cases. And remember, at the first speech, we have mentioned 3 reasons why the crimes are not the last resort, but it's intentional. So all the cases of the opposition actually falls down from the first speech. And secondly, on the identity, judges, I want to clarify here, this is not a debate about the discrimination between Asian and white people, because we just different in our race. We still have the same financial ability, we have the possibility of earning the same amount of money. What we're saying here is the difference between an adult and a child, because an adult have a much larger capacity to hurt the others. So this is really what the comparative look like in this debate. So the analogy have already fallen. And thirdly, on the now I will weigh the best case of them and the worst case of our side. Now, what they're talking about is that they will have they will achieve rehabilitation, and that these criminals will come contribute back to the society. We say we do it better because when we have deterrence, if I'm a metahuman, I see that if I commit crime, I will be taken away that power. Then I will tend to opt for a nice job, being a salaryman, rather than committing a crime and earn a lot of money. In our world, the other metahuman will better opt for a high-paid job that will not commit crime in the first place, unlike on their side. Because what their side did worse is that on their side, people will feel much unsafe. Because why? She killed me and with a gun, and then she was put into prison. But then when she was out of prison, she was given the gun again. So will I feel safe? The answer is not, because she still have the capacity to do so. And as I've already analyzed in the first speech, they have a lot of possibilities to recommit that crime again, because they have already crossed that mental and that moral line in the first place. That is why the proposition has totally won this debate. Very proud to propose.
Thank you so much, ladies. This round is completely anonymous, so the judges won't be giving us any comments. Ladies, please have a seat. Thank you. And we'll be right back with the final results. Welcome back to The Debaters Season 3. Before I reveal our final results, I'd like to present the most valuable speaker. All along, if you guys have been watching, we've had a remote audience who will be voting on their favorite speaker for tonight. Let's take a look at the board for our results. Wow! Please step on up. Are you okay? You're laughing so much.
Yeah. I'm proud of myself.
I'm proud of myself. Okay, I'm proud of you too. Is there any particular words you want to say with everyone at home?
Thank you.
You had a lot of words to say when you were presenting, but now you're at a loss of words. What's wrong here, my friend?
I think because I don't have papers anymore.
Oh, no papers, no talk, okay? Perfect. Well, this is for you. And I'm not going to keep you guys waiting any longer. Can I have everyone up on stage to reveal the final results? As it stands, our proposition team has 40 points and our opposition team has 50 points, meaning that in order to win, you got to win all 3 votes. Are we ready for the results?
Yes!
Okay, let's see. I got it right here. So, the first vote will be going for the proposition team. Give you guys 5 points. Second vote is for proposition team. Meaning that we're at a tie of 50 to 50, guys. This last vote will be deciding our winner for today. Are we nervous?
Yes.
Yeah. The winner will be moving on to the finals. You ready? Okay, and our last vote will be for the proposition team. Guys, how do you guys feel being the winners? You guys came back, you guys were selected by the judges. How does it feel to be back and win?
It's definitely a roller coaster of emotions for us because we literally went to the top and then down a bit and then just went downhill from there. And so it's really fun to be in this debate, and we thank the other team for their valiant effort, and I really do appreciate their points.
Yeah, and I see over here we have some emotions being shared over here. How do we feel, guys?
If I say that I'm, feeling positive right now, it would be a lie, but yeah, it was a good debate. I think there were a lot of things that we could have done, but we didn't. So it was very valid, the result. And I would just gladly thank them for their effort in this debate as well.
Well, and I think it's a very good lesson to learn from our team over here is that they lost, they went home, and they got a second chance to come back. And that meaning that just because you don't win today doesn't mean that you're a loser, right? There's many other opportunities in the future for you to be a winner, and you always are a winner. You guys are winners today. So I want you guys to go home and be really proud of yourselves, because I'm proud of you guys. Okay? Well, it's been nice to getting to know you guys. With that being said, I'd like to thank my lovely panel of judges. A special thanks to British University of Vietnam for allowing us to be here today. And I will see you guys on the next round of the semifinals. Bye, guys.